Hello, everyone. I hope you all are having an amazing day, and I would like to let you know on this amazing day that I have a Patreon at patreon.com/Matthew Donald. There you can find bonus content for both my shows, The Ritwit and Paleobites. For the Paleobites bonus content, we discuss pop culture featuring prehistoric animals, and this month we're talking about, let's see, what did they say we're talking about this week? Let me just look at the list here. Megazoic, my own book series. Wow, I must have really run out of ideas. That's not true. We got plenty of other dinosaur pop culture to talk about, but I thought this time we'd do something a little different. And don't worry, it's not me reviewing my own book. That would be biased and unprofessional. Of course not. No, I've got two other people to do it. People who are very unbiased and are willing to give their professional opinion on my book series. So, yeah, it's great. We all have a good time. Link is in the description where you can sign up to the Patreon. Thank you for your support and have a lovely day. Having people pay to listen to review, that is an ad for my own work to make people pay for that. Capitalism, baby!
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that bones. My name's Matthew Donald, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by someone who I'm currently in, not her house, not my house, someone else's house.
We just broke into a stranger's home.
Yeah, we just broke into a stranger. They'll be back any minute now. Hold on, we'll have to see. Anyways, it's Laura Owsley. How are you?
Hello, I'm alright. How are you?
I'm alright.
So the reason why we are recording in a house that is not my house or Matt's house is because I am currently pet sitting.
Pet sitting? You're pet sitting a dire wolf.
Yes, she's actually quite vicious. And she is definitely descended from wolves. That's why she is all of 6 inches tall, I think.
Most. Actually, I'd wager all dogs are descended from wolves.
Most or some are descended from, like, foxes. Some are descended from... Yeah.
I mean, like, domestic dogs? Descended from foxes?
Some.
That's cool. Foxes are cute. They're basically cat dogs.
Honestly... that does not encourage people to go try to domesticate foxes.
Oh, please don't. But if you're one of the rare people who has managed to domesticate a fox, which you shouldn't do, but if you do, they're great pets, I've heard.
Right, well...
They're snuggly pets. They're very cute, but boy, they're high maintenance.
They're very cute. They're very high maintenance. They're not pets.
They're not pets. They shouldn't be pets, but I feel like one day humanity will be desperate enough to figure it out.
I mean,
because
definitely,
they're adorable. Right? Foxes are some of the cutest animals.
They're very cute.
Did you know a group of finnick foxes specifically, is known as a tangle?
That's adorable. Yeah. I saw something the other day, this is very related.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that said that Tangled is so charming, it's pretty much everybody's favorite Disney movie.
Oh yeah, the movie Tangled, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the Foxen. The Foxen are very cute, though.
Yeah. Speaking of Fox, speaking of Disney, Robin Hood, am I right now? Why does everyone like that fox? He's not. I mean, he's got a charming personality, but he's still an animal. I'm not part of the furry fandom, so.
I mean, look, I'm not judging you, man. Like, whatever.
My ex-girlfriend was a furry. That's why we broke up. That's how we broke up.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, she's great. We're still friends, actually.
Oh, wow.
Didn't work out for other reasons. Okay, so here, you see a lot of furry foxes. You see a lot of like furry animals, like dogs and all that stuff. What about giraffes? I don't see a lot of that.
Well, I do, because I have a membership to the Denver Zoo.
Oh, yeah, well, those are literally giraffes. I mean, like, giraffe people. Like.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't see it. My little brother's a giraffe person.
Oh, okay.
He loves giraffes. Yeah. He's got, like, a couple of, like...
Well, I mean, like, like a giraffe person, like how Goofy's a dog person.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. I feel like I've seen some animated characters of, like
anamorpho. I can't think of it now. Anthropomorphous.
Again, we're editing in a much more intelligent person.
The listeners are screaming at us right now. Just like what the word is. Anthropomorphized. Why does that sound wrong to me?
I think it's just one of those words that will always sound wrong no matter how you say it.
Anthropomorphized.
That's actually correct.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, that one's
giraffe.
actually correct.
Well, anyway, speaking of giraffes, except not really, but sort of, we're talking about Giraffatitan today. Yes, the Titanic Giraffe itself.
It's a miracle these things once walked the earth, because they are kind of freaking huge.
Kind of. They're enormous. In fact, there's one on display in the museum in Berlin,
that is the tallest mounted skeleton in the world.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So what type is a macronarian sauropod, a group of longnecks that includes Brachiosaurus and Camarasaurus that are closely related to the Cretaceous Titanosaur. I'm assuming you know those are.
Of course. I actually have 3 degrees in
Titanosaur research.
Yes.
Makes sense.
It's a common fact about me.
Of course.
That's why I'm on this podcast so much.
Yeah, you know so much about dinosaurs. In fact, I mentioned you recently on a podcast where I was like, Laura Owsley's great, but she doesn't know squat about dinosaurs.
True.
Well, I'm you and a few other people.
I've told people too of like, oh yeah, like I'm recording a podcast with my buddy, and they're like, oh cool, what's the podcast about? I'm like, oh, it's about dinosaurs. They're like, I didn't know you knew anything about dinosaurs. I'm like,
I don't, yeah. But here I am, because you're a trooper, and you really are, so.
It's fun, right?
Yeah, no, it's fun. You and I have a good dynamic. That's really more what I care about.
Right?
Like, my stupid Matt Seifert. Like, I'm not qualified. It's like, no one is! I'm barely qualified.
Right? Like, but who is qualified, of course, is the puppy dog that is tap dancing around us right now.
Yes, hello.
Demanding affection.
Hello. The little dire wolf descendants.
Yes. She actually looks a lot like a Giraffatitan.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at that short neck.
Yeah, the short neck,
Great
the smushed in nose, bulging eyes.
Yeah.
I feel
terrier, by the way, listeners.
Yes. I feel like I've been like describing like a frog.
I mean, she's basically a frog in human form. Is a she, right?
Yes, it's a she.
Okay.
Yeah, this is.
Don't want to misgender the dog. Okay. So size, Giraffatitan, it's 75 to 80 feet long.
Holy shit.
Or 21 to 25 meters long. 40 to 65 tons.
Oh, that's all. That was fine.
Yeah, that's fine. You could just run across the street and be like, hey, look at me, it's my pal, the Giraffatitan.
Right.
Put her there.
Honestly, that's the best and last high five of your life.
Yeah, no, you hold her hand up, the thing puts its foot down, squashed.
But what a way to go.
Exactly.
Right, like that's bragging rights in the afterlife.
Bragging rights, indeed. Alright, so, it wasn't her before, though, thankfully. So,
that is comforting.
So, if it killed you, it wouldn't be because it ate you. Because you stepped on it. Or you stepped on it. He stepped on you. So,
what a way to go.
Time, Late Jurassic, 150 to 145 million years ago.
Okay.
Location, Tanzania.
Oh.
You ever been to Tanzania?
I have not, no.
Have you ever been out of the country? You've been out of the country before.
I have.
Yeah.
So, technically I lived out of the country until I was 3.
Oh, that's right. I think I've told you when you fell in the well.
Yes, so for context here, I lived in Albania until I was 3. So I was born in Colorado, but my family lives in Albania.
And that's in Africa too, right?
It is not in Africa.
Where is it again?
It is just north of Greece.
Oh, right. It's Eastern European, yeah. So, cool.
So it's like right south of Macedonia, north of Greece.
Cool.
But yes, I lived there until I was like 3. Aside from that, I technically have been to Mexico, but like...
Technically?
You know where like...
You snuck over the border.
I snuck over the border, right?
But the other direction.
Right. Well, okay, so there's the Mexico-California border.
Mm-hmm.
Where I've been in Mexico is like an hour south of the U.S. border.
Really?
Right, so it's like quote-unquote Mexico, right? But like you're still kind of in Southern California. Like you're still in that like Baja area.
That makes sense. Sorry.
So I have been out of the country, but only briefly. Have you?
Oh yeah, I've been to Russia. I've been to England. I've been to Mexico. I've been to the Virgin Islands. Okay, so it was described in 2009, but it was suggested to be a separate genus from Brachiosaurus as early as 1988.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So pop culture appearances and inadvertently everything featuring a Brachiosaurus in Africa or even a Brachiosaurus at all. As most of what we know about Brachiosaurus actually comes from Giraffatitan.
Oh wow! Okay, so they're like famous not so much for being what they are, but for being like the inspiration of what we think of as like a giant dinosaur.
Absolutely. You know Brachiosaurus, right?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Big, bulky, long-necked dinosaur that wowed audiences in 1993 as the first major dinosaur to appear in the Jurassic Park franchise and show off that glorious early 90s CGI.
Oh, man. I mean, that's the peak of CGI, actually.
Yeah, have you seen the TV show Reboot?
No.
Have you seen Transformers Beast Wars?
like I have.
Watch it on YouTube, or don't, because it is unwatchable by today's standards. It's amazing that Toy Story looks as good as it is, as it does, even now. But anyway, so, here's the thing about Brachiosaurus. Most of its reconstructions are based off of Giraffatitan. Because back in the day, that was considered a different species in the Brachiosaurus genus. When the first remains of Brachiosaurus were discovered in Colorado in 1900, so yeah, here in the state.
That's cool, they were found here.
Yep, and described a few years later, they were rather scant, with only a femur, humerus, ilium, coracoid, sacrum, a few caudal vertebrae, and other nerd terms for skeletal anatomy that I don't know because I'm not a skeletal anatomist.
You're not?
No!
I thought that's what this podcast was.
Oh yeah, skeletal anatomy bites.
Yeah.
By the way, I was writing skeletal anatomist in my notes here. I was like, oh, that'd be funny, skeletal. It turns out that actually is a word, anatomist. I didn't know that.
I feel like it sounds like, I know what it means, but it sounds like it should be like a person whose entire job it is skeletal anatomy.
Right, but it's like anatomist. It's just like, oh, I'm not a doctor, I'm an anatomist. Right. Shut up!
Nobody cares, Dave. Like,
anyways, so all these nerd terms for stuff, but they also ribs. I know those. That's another thing they found.
Ribs are great.
Ribs are great. Actually, I don't like ribs.
Really?
Oh no, I grew up in Texas too. You'd think I'd like ribs.
Yeah.
I think I like barbecue. I don't.
Huh. I love good ribs. I'm not a pork person.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. Pork chops actually kind of like, yeah.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Matt, how are we ever going to get food after this?
I know, we're supposed to get food, and I'm just like, we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? But, we were talking about Greece earlier. Maybe we can get Grecian food.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be down for that. I don't think you would like it.
I wouldn't like it, no. I like some Mediterranean food.
I mean, I love falafels.
Falafel is, I'm like, baklava, but that's dessert. We talked about this the other time we were over here, but not on the podcast, so.
Not on the podcast.
Anyways,
it's new content.
Why are we talking about baklava? What about Giraffatitan? That's my bad. That's what
I will take no blame for
you shouldn't. It's all my fault. All right, anyways, so these early aughts paleontologists were like, whoa, this thing's huge, and named it Brachiosaurus.
All right.
Then a few years later in 1906... What?
Go ahead.
Okay. A few years later, in 1906, German mining engineers in Tanzania, Africa, noticed some huge bones in a quarry, and over the next couple of years, the sites were open to a bunch of paleontologists to excavate a whole crap ton of giant dinosaur bones. One such skeleton was far larger than the others, and what's more, it was nearly complete. As these seemed to match the bones found in Colorado, they named it as another species of Brachiosaurus, specifically Brachiosaurus branchi, while the Colorado remains were called Brachiosaurus altithorax.
Brachiosaurus antithorax?
Altithorax.
Altithorax.
Yeah.
That's cool though, that we've got like our Denver dinosaur. We talked about the Denversaurus.
Yes, we did. No, there's a lot. Colorado's great for dinosaur bones, so a lot of good ones. Brachiosaurus is pretty common, and it also would make sense for a dinosaur in North America and a dinosaur in Africa to be somewhat close, because like back then, it wasn't quite Pangea anymore, but Colorado and Africa are pretty close. Not Colorado, North America and Africa are pretty close.
I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, you just take a quick bus stop, and there's Africa.
And there it is, right? All the buses that dinosaurs were taking back in the day.
Yeah.
Public transportation was so much better.
I mean, they had all the fossil fuels to use.
Yeah. I mean,
that
one took me longer than it should.
That's such a bad joke. I apologize. But, okay. All right, so since these Brachiosaurus bones, I use Brachiosaurus air quotes here, in Africa were far more complete than the ones in North America, most of our depictions of Brachiosaurus in media are actually based off of this one, which will later be known as Giraffatitan. It helps that its skeleton is on display in the Berlin Natural History Museum, one of the largest and the tallest mounted skeletons in the whole world, showing off just how god-dang enormous this thing was, and inspiring those early 90s artists like mad. Like, these things were inspired to hell and back with this thing. They were inspired to god-dang shit.
I mean, really, I think my favorite thing that they've inspired is, of course, the Jurassic Park series.
Yes, the ones you've seen in pieces via memes.
Yes. And by the time Matt decides to stop letting me on this podcast, which should be sooner rather than later.
I mean, if you want, you can leave if you want. There's the door. No,
no,
no I'm kidding.
I want to be on this podcast.
But
I'm just waiting for you to blow up, and people are like,
You don't understand this
girl
podcast.
doesn't know what she's doing.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing either. That's why I'm doing this podcast. So
Instead of doing actual paleontological research.
I don't want to do paleontological research. I have to be out in the Badlands, in the desert, where it's hot, lifting heavy rocks.
See, none of that sounds good.
No.
But sitting here with a mic,
in
that's
this
fine.
mic, air-conditioned room.
Right.
Yeah, room temperature. It's a
Room
nice...
temperature, a Boston Terrier running around
It's
here.
a nice... we're recording this in April, so it's a nice spring day.
It really is, which means that it will snow in a couple of days.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, it's like 70 degrees now. It'll be like 20 degrees tomorrow.
So Brachiosaurus also had to have had lots of coats and hats.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, especially back then.
Right.
When the weather was exactly the same as it was now, because that's how weather works.
That's how weather works.
Yes.
Well, you know what they say in Colorado, right? If you don't like the weather, wait 15 million years and it'll change.
15 million years, exactly. At first I was like, oh, you're going to do the classic say, oh! Twists!
Once in a while.
Yes.
So
Wow, that's pretty cool. Anyways, so since Hollywood is America-centric, they've specifically been depicting Brachiosaurus altathorax all this time, even though the bones in the museum are named Brachiosaurus branchi, and those are the ones that were complete. So they're like, okay, we're going to depict this Brachiosaurus altathorax based off of this Brachiosaurus branchi, because it's like, this is in Jurassic, Colorado, so here's a Brachiosaurus altathorax.
So what you're saying is that Hollywood lied to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, the one in Jurassic Park is basically that. But since the late 80s, some paleontologists have felt a little off about this whole thing and decided to forgive my paleontological pun, do some digging.
This is just a podcast episode of puns.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anyways, so eventually British paleontologist and also computer programmer, so basically my idol, Michael P. Taylor, published a detailed comparison of the two species, showing that their bone size, shape, and proportion were actually...
I'm having a conversation with the dog as Matt is talking.
Yeah, it's like a facial conversation. No words spoken, just
words spoken, just me looking at her very disapprovingly as she looks at me with big, hopeful eyes. But nobody's thrown the ball for me in almost 10 minutes, so I'm neglected.
And for dogs, that's like over an hour in dog years.
It's true.
So,
True.
Seven
times. Go ahead.
Anyway, so this Michael B. Taylor published a detailed comparison of the two species, showing that their bone size, shape, and portion were actually quite different. Ergo, it needed to be classified in a separate genus, and thus renamed the African specimen Giraffatitan branchi. Since the North American Brachiosaurus was described first, that name stuck, and thus all these North American Brachiosaurus depictions based off the African Giraffatitan just look silly now.
Of course.
As for Giraffatitan itself, it was one of the largest dinosaurs of all time, only beaten by some Cretaceous titanosaurs.
Oh.
So it's pretty huge. Like,
Yeah.
it's like reaching up there on the trees. Also, it held its neck up pretty high compared to other long dinosaurs. Because the reason why it's called Brachiosaurus, and this one's kind of the same too, brachii means arm, right?
So its neck kind of functioned as an arm.
Oh, I guess,
They
but
could,
that's
like,
actually not the
reach.
reason.
Just
It's
kidding.
called that because its front limbs, unusually for dinosaurs or long necks in general, were much longer than their back limbs.
Oh.
So, like, the spine is kind of hunched upwards, so the neck could go way up.
Oh, that is interesting.
Because most animals, their front limbs are shorter than the back limbs.
Right, it's almost disproportionate from...
Kind of like a gorilla. You know,
What were you
gorillas
saying?
have much longer front
Right.
limbs than back limbs, so their spine's kind of more upward. And same with Brachiosaurus, although obviously it didn't walk on its knuckles with its arms held out like a gorilla. That'd be pretty cool, though,
That
huh?
would be pretty cool, though.
That'd be pretty cool.
So, giraffes, when they, like, lean down to, like, drink water or
Yeah,
something from
they
the
kind of
ground.
spread their front legs out to, like...
A little bit, and they also, like, have a thing that, like, the blood, they can, like, control the blood rushing to their head
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
it doesn't, like, hurt them.
Yeah, no, some
right?
dinosaurs are like that, too. Like,
Okay.
Camarasaurus is called chamber blister because it had specific chambers that, like, allowed it to pump the blood all the way up there, so...
Okay, so is that a similar case with this?
Oh, yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, I mean, it lived that way. Had to figure it out. Otherwise, it would just reach up and it's like, oh, I'm reaching my neck up as I'm designed to. Wait, I'm lightheaded.
Well, hey, I mean, maybe they just couldn't bend their heads down. Maybe they just, like,
So the order for
open
them
their mouths to get water from...
it's just like,
the
I
atmosphere?
can't reach.
Yep.
Or they had to go all the way down into the water until the point where they were at head was at water level, and then just drink that way.
There you go. There
Now,
you go.
the water pressure lower down would crush them, but...
Nah, they could, I don't know, backfloat. They'll be great.
Yeah, those long arms, backstroke, back. That's a very weird image.
That's tiny legs, long arms, and huge neck.
Just like,
I mean, if you saw that at the public pool, like, I think that would scare away children.
Yeah, well, also, this thing is bigger than the public pool. I mean, it steps a bit in there, and then suddenly all the water is just like, out.
You don't know the public pools that I go to, right?
Oh, they're enormous.
Yeah, they're enormous.
Placement of Giraffatitan's nostrils has been an interesting discussion, as its skull has two giant gaping holes in the front that pretty much cover the entire forehead, meaning that the nostrils themselves can be placed pretty much anywhere. In fact, paleontologists have proposed like 5 separate locations for where the nostrils were. For a while, they're presumed to be near the top of the head. And this is the depiction shown in Jurassic Park, because again, that was based off of Giraffatitan, where we get the close-up of one as it feeds off the tree that Alan Grant and the kids are sleeping on. So it has like this crest. It has a tall crest on its head, and so it's like the kind of like a whale. Like the nostrils are close to the eyes up there. And also, this is back in the day when they thought, oh, maybe it was like a snorkel, even though they realized that if it got that deep in the water, it would be crushed.
Okay.
So, but scientists thought about it for like a second, like, hey, pretty much all animals have their noses at the front, so maybe they were near the snout instead.
Would make sense.
So, like, why did you think they were close to the top in the first place then, you dummies? I could be a paleontologist. I could come up with stuff like that.
Yeah, come on.
Except,
well, my question is, if the nostril holes are so large, how big are the eye holes?
a little bit. That's true. Like, you think about what the skull... it's just like you need a lot of space in the skull for all the resonating chambers and other stuff. Yeah, like, the nostrils themselves would be lit up on the skull. The holes are huge. You know, it's sort of like how, have you seen an elephant skull? It has a big cavity up at the front. That's where the trunk is.
Right.
And that's actually where the origin of the Cyclops came from, because when we saw those skulls, we're like, oh, that's a big eye socket, right? True story.
Fun facts.
They actually did have resonating chambers, which leads screens to the whole singing like whale noises they tend to make in movies. You ever notice that? We have all the movies you've seen with dinosaurs.
Sure.
The long necks tend to like sing like whales.
Huh.
I think it's because they were like, they're big like whales.
Right, they might as well.
Sound like whales.
Well, I think they're like, we love an underdog story, right?
Yeah, what's bigger underdog than the biggest animal?
What? Seriously. And like, of the animals that you would think would be like American Idol stars, right? It would probably be like a velociraptor or something.
Yeah, that Mongolian dinosaur, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So like, if we're gonna make Sing 3 with dinosaurs instead of
oh my gosh, there's no
animals.
reason for them to be animals anyways. They're just animals because it looks funnier from trailer promo shots.
Right, because it's cuter for kids and it sells more toys.
I mean, Zootopia had a whole reason for them to be animals, but...
Right. But Zootopia was then very quickly taken in by some very odd groups on the internet.
Well, again, the furries, they're back!
Not even the furries!
Do you know, Zootopia had giraffes in it? Had giraffe people in it, yeah. Remember, it was like that one, I think they went up, there was like that stand and, that had like an acea branch shakes that one of them slurped. Yeah.
I feel like I remember this.
Like when during the Shakira's Try Everything song, at the beginning.
What an odd choice for that movie, Shakira.
As a gazelle.
As a gazelle.
You know she's 4'11"?
Is she?
Yeah!
Wow, that gives like a whole new like image to her stuck in a cage because...
Why is she stuck in a cage?
Because of the she-wolf.
Oh.
There's a she-wolf.
I don't know. All I know is hips don't lie, because I saw that as a teenager. I'm like, oh, yes, please, hips don't lie. Don't lie to me, hips.
Don't lie to me. I can't handle it emotionally.
I need truthful hips.
Yeah.
Not lying hips.
Anyways, Giraffatitan.
Okay, so, anyways, I know this really isn't about giraffes, but close enough, right? Yeah, so let's rate it 1 out of 65 million.
Ooh. I rated...
Oh, yeah, what's your crazy rating, guess?
My crazy rating is 2.5 Judy Hopps.
2.5 Judy Hopps. Oh, great, now I have to leave that in. Yeah, okay, I'm going to rate it 50 million, because it's pretty cool. 51 million, just to be a little bit distinctive. Or I'm going to rate it 2 Shakira hip thrusts.
There you go. Oh.
Just 2, though. I know she goes crazy sometimes.
Fair.
Just like one left way and one the other way.
Right. We can't get too much here, really. Giraffatitan is really cool, but like you can only have one for each region in the world.
Yeah. What?
I was trying to go for the 2 different kinds of Brachiosaurus.
Oh, right, the Brachiosaurus, yes.
Anyways.
Alright, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at mattd@matthewdoncreator.com for any general questions to either co-host. You can follow me on social media at MatthewDonCreator on Facebook, at MatthewDon64 on Twitter, and MatthewDon64 on Instagram. I've been doing this more often. Where can they find you?
So they can find me pretty much anywhere on the social medias. Twitter and Instagram are preferred. It's going to be at Thespian Laura,
Yes.
Thespian.
You were quite the
Laura.
thespian. I've seen some of your plays. I've seen one of your plays,
That's
and it was
true.
quite good.
It was a very good show. Matt came for one of the last performances before COVID shut down.
I know, and you were just like, oh, once this blows over, we'll just get right back to production.
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, there's this whole like weird COVID thing going around, but it'll be gone in like 2 weeks. So
exactly.
we just get like a 2-week break.
Yeah, and like we're back to normal. Everything's fine.
Right.
All right. I also have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. I'm fairly certain I don't use a Giraffatitan anywhere in it.
I feel like you would be the expert on this.
Oh, sometimes I read through it and I'm like, whoa, I used that species. Whoa, it's like a background character or something. I'm just like, this dinosaur said, this dinosaur said, this dinosaur had the laser, this dinosaur had the rocket launcher, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Every dinosaur has a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
That's just canon.
Pew pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Roar.
High
Exactly.
five of 10.
Yeah. Anyways, I also have another podcast called The Writ Wit, where two twits talk about writing. You like the vibe of this show? It's basically the same as that one. Alright, well that's it for this week. As I say at the end of every episode of Paleobites, tonight, hips don't lie. I don't know the rest of the song. Oh baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Let's try to go for a different Shakira song.
Shakira, bye!
Bye!